So before we continue with the next round, which is 5 p.m., getting into the last few moments here, I wanted to take a moment and review the crash from the end of the last video. And I'm posting this a little faster than normal simply because I want to kind of review that to see what happened, what failed. And there's a couple of things that went wrong. Yes, primarily it was completely my fault, but there's a few things that normally happen that kind of got changed in this one that I wanted to look at real quick. So let's jump over to the video and take a look at what happened. So here we are back in the video. This is a few moments before the actual crash and event and all that fun stuff happened. And there's a few things I wanted to show. First is this Alaskan plane right here that's pulled off the runway. Now, this plane, as you'll see in just a second, is going to highlight which taxiway it's going to exit on or which one it's using, and then it will be given commands to route off. We're not too concerned about the routing commands. What we're concerned about here is how the Alaska plane is going to show which taxiway it's using. So here we go playing it. You can see it pulls up almost halfway and then stops. I'm going to get this JetBlue plane moving, and then I should talk to Mr. Alaska here. Alright, here comes All Nippon down the runway. That's the one who collided with United back here. So you can see right there, just a sliver of the taxiway is used, covering about half of the total length of the taxiway. Now this taxiway is mostly straight. So he pulls off onto the waiting area and then turns down the taxiway. So there's a larger staging area here simply to allow for the two directions of traffic. And you can see here comes All Nippon flying down the runway right behind him. He's coming over here to H8 though. And if you notice, H8 has a bit of a bend in it. It's not quite as flat. You see H4 is a more straighter one, but because H3 is right there, it creates this larger staging area. So he pulls off, and because of that bend, his usable taxiway area is just that short little bit. So he's not actually pulled off the runway. He's still sitting on it. I'm used to planes actually pulling off the taxiway. Now, I know I encountered this previously, which was why I was telling them to exit at H6 or even H9 previous, or even November in a couple of videos a long time ago, but I didn't think about it at the time. I just thought, okay, plane on my runway, he'll be exiting in a second. I can get these other planes routed, I can get them moving, and then I'll have a moment to get him going. So here comes this tiny little guy. I forget oh, it was DLH Lufthansa, I think. But he comes down. I saw it as soon as I was there, watching him roll down the runway. Let me get back to it. As soon as that guy started rolling down the runway, I knew exactly what was about to happen, which is why I turned off the ground radar and other stuff. So right here, I see him enter my radar. I'm like, oh, crap. I go, yeah, this guy's still sitting on my runway. What the heck? And you could see it there for a second when I clicked on it. Oops, I think I already went off of it. So I click on the airplane, and you can see the tiny sliver of taxiway that he's using. Here we go. Boom. See? The taxiway's line is messed up. This should be moved off the runway onto H8. That is the assumption that I made, because even the Alaska plane was still pretty close to runway, but it was actually completely off of the runway and on the taxiway. This guy's still sitting a third to two-thirds on the actual runway because the taxiway shows as being way down here. So that's a glitch that I think should be addressed. And that's why the big plane crashed into him. Had he actually pulled off the runway, there would have been plenty of room for this big DLH to come cruising on by down to H9 or Tango. But as it was, there wasn't. Yep, you're going to crash. And kaput. Now, there's a few other things that would have happened in a real-world type of a scenario. The big 747 would have seen this 767 or 57 parked out on the runway and executed a go-around as soon as they came down. Yes, it's foggy, but this plane would have been very visible because right now you can see the entire length of the airport and then some. So by the time he hit the ground, he would have seen that plane on the ground in front of him, throttled back up, and taken off and gone around. Planes can execute their own go-arounds. I don't have to be the one as the controller to execute a missed approach. So that also would have happened. Now, again, yes, I was running at 2x. That does make the traffic move faster, but it doesn't make their voices move faster, which is why earlier when I was playing the game, I would have to talk over the pilot so that I could maintain control of what was happening at the higher speed. But if they sped the voices up, yeah, it'd sound a little weird, but it would allow them to get their statement out fast enough so that I could move on to the next plane. So what led to the crash? One, yes, 2x was a contributing factor. It got me a little behind in speaking and routing some of the planes because I had a route I was going around. Why was I working on that route, moving around the different planes at the airport? Because I made the assumption that this plane would pull off onto a taxiway. And you can see it right here. He's not even on. His nose is all that's on this taxiway. If we move the mouse along the line, you can see he's still sitting in the middle of that taxiway or runway. He has not pulled off. And that's because the game is glitched on this taxiway to keep him on the runway. The taxiway starts way back here where this plane is. He pulled halfway off, which is here. The end of it's up here. He should be all the way up to this black line. That's where he should be waiting. Same with this one. You can see that's the exit parking area. That's where they're supposed to wait. And that line moves across the whole airport. So that just kind of addresses what happened here. Yes, I was annoyed at the time it happened because A, I wish the pilot would have gone around, and B, I was trying to figure out why the heck this guy hadn't pulled off the runway. When I went to edit the video and I saw what had happened, I went, oh man. So had I been a little faster, had I changed how I was controlling the planes, or had I even slowed it down to 1x, yeah, I think I could have avoided it. It would have been close, as you saw with Only Pone and the Alaskan plane, but the Alaskan plane actually pulled off onto the taxiway, so I think I may submit this as a bug report to them just to kind of highlight what's going on, because the taxiway shouldn't be starting way down there. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you'll keep watching, and hopefully I'll be able to avoid more accidents, and I'm definitely going to have to pay attention to Hotel 8 more at LAX, because that is a problem. We'll see you next time.